Hello, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to coverage of the VML sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. My name's Haiyue. I'm here with the one, the only Filipa MTG. Filipa, how are you doing today?
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm doing great. I'm very excited for the VML.
So, we are here playing Standard and we are on week number 4. I can count. I have the ability to look at the schedule and tell you what week it is. It's week 4 already of season number 12 of the VML. For those of you who are joining us maybe for the first time, we are a league for people of marginalized genders in Magic. We have 128 players. They spend the first 7 weeks playing round robin against 8 other of the 8 players in their division, and then we're going to cut to the top 36. I don't know, top some number. Top 48, I believe. And those players are going to battle out in single elimination until we find a champion. The top 8 of the VML qualifies not only for the regional championship of their own choice, but also for the VML championships, which are coming up at the end of the year. And Filipa, you can battle it out for 2 Pro Tour invites at the VML championships.
Yeah, that's incredible. Not only that, there's also the regional championship invite. So, overall, it's such a great tournament. I was very lucky. I was able to play it last year, and it was a fantastic experience. And I have to say, the fact that as you said, the two Pro Tour invites attached to it, that's just incredible.
Yeah, on our players that you're going to be seeing this evening, and all of the other 124 players in the field. That's kind of what they're gunning for. That's what they're here to try and qualify into those professional level events. And actually, Filipa, there's a lot of professional level events happening in right now. Right, this weekend, I believe we have Dallas coming up. For the American standard players, and then we had last weekend. We were just talking about it earlier. We had the Canadian and European uh, regional championships. So this tis the season, as they say, to get in line for those Pro Tour invites. As we look forward to Amsterdam, which Filipa, I think you are going to be attending.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And I have to say about the regional championships, I'm so happy that it was standard and it's going to be standard this weekend because I feel like I'm always not aligned. I'm studying standard here for the VML, playing and casting, and then the other events, they are either pioneer or modern. But finally, everyone was actually very into standard. New cool decks were formed. And I'm so excited to see all these things and to see players finally creating new deck lists. Also, I saw so many players playing the four colored legends that originally Jason created here from the VML. So that was so cool to see.
Yeah, I loved that. The Jason and the rest of the Sanctum team have had such a huge impact on the standard format. I felt the same actually about PT Seattle. It was just so nice, and every time it comes around to standard PT, everyone's like, "Oh, standard's amazing," and we're like, "We know." We're the only people that know this year, like all year round, we're playing standard here at the VML. All right, so coverage for week number 4. Let's have a look at the metagame for this week. See what everyone brought. Wow, Teamer Analyst at the top of the metagame here with 18 copies. Filipa, I am somewhat surprised.
I am not because last weekend, the regional championship, the meta breakdown looked kind of like this on day one. Temur Analyst and Azorius Control were the most played decks, and I think Boros Convoke was third or fourth. But surprisingly, we were commenting this before we started the stream. The conversion for day 2 really favored the aggro decks. So Bant Toxic and Boros Convoke did really well, making a lot of players into day 2. The Temur Analyst deck didn't perform as well as expected, but I'm still not surprised to see it here as the most played deck. It is very strong.
Certainly very strong. And we've been talking about this all season and really last season as well. This standard format being the biggest standard we've seen maybe ever has just led to this very interesting kind of selection of decks, the weird ones, the analyst decks, the full color decks, along with your traditional control aggro mid-range. You can see them there. And actually, it's not very static. Like, it's changing up all the time.
Also, I feel since we have such a big card pool, the decks also easily adapt. So, for example, Temur Analyst, it's not maybe as new as it was, as fresh, but now it has sideboard cards that allow it to have multiple win conditions. So now sideboard, you're going to see Titan, you're going to see Bonnie Paul. So it's not now just this deck that just wins with the World Soul Rage, but it also has this sideboard and it adapts very well for because decks started running things like Rest in Peace, Stone Brain, and the deck really had to adapt. So I feel like it's great that we see the decks just continuing to evolve. Esper Midrange has been here for 5,000 years, it feels
Forever.
like.
Yeah.
But it keeps being good, it keeps adapting and evolving, and it's great.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's have a look at our first feature match of the evening. We are starting here in Division Number 1 this time round, and we have Luta Scooter. And Luta, by the way, has been writing some pretty sweet articles for us recently, showcasing some of the players in the VML, and she has brought Azorius Control. Now, Filipa, tell us about this version of Azorius Control. You know, the Tundra gang have been at it again. What's different about this one?
Well, I really like that these decks, these Azorius control decks, have been really incorporating this three steps ahead. So that's main in all the Azorius control decks now, and I really like it. It's a great card from OTJ that I feel like it's the card alongside with Slick Shot Show Off that is most showing play from OTJ in standard. The deck itself, it's a pretty standard. Deck for blue white. I feel like decks are now including the populate. Before they didn't have these board wipe, and instead they went with temporary lockdowns. But it looks like Luther Scooter here going for the populates instead of temporary lockdowns. Obviously, Tishana's Tidebinder has been an inclusion in a lot of these decks, sideboard and main. This deck is just really sweet and it has a lot of answers. It seems pretty much alongside what I saw play this weekend in the RC. It's pretty similar, I believe, with Gabriel Nassif list that he ran last weekend, but there are some sideboard cards that are very interesting and I haven't seen before. The Boonbringer Valkyrie is such a cool card sideboard. A lot of decks play the Chrome OC chart. That card is just so good and it wins so many post sideboard games. But I
I
have to give
love
a
that
shout out
card.
to LS Norn, which is great against the Temur Analyst decks.
Oh yeah, I love Elish. No, love the Boombringer Valkyrie. Look, it's a blue-white control deck. You're gonna put Bane Slayer Angel on the side. You know, it's tradition. Okay, Felipa. Luta's just tapping into a long line of Bane Slayer Angel sideboard.
I agree.
Sideboard configurations. And yeah, it's nice to see her back here again. And let's have a look at her opponent. It's Asha. And Asha is 3-0 in Division 1, currently leading the way. And Asha has brought Esper mid-range. Pretty solid, you know, very solid, very choice that we've talked about, has felt like it's been here for 5,000 years. Has Asha done very much to mix it up here?
I really like this list by Asha. It doesn't have too many different things than what you see right now. Again, Tishana's Tidebinder making it into the main deck. It is a very strong card. You see your Denix, your Fairy Masterminds, your Bats. So pretty good list. It is the one that plays with Virtue of Loyalty. You see some lists now playing Wedding Announcements. So this is not the case. Maybe this not so much focus in creating tokens and going off with Virtue of Loyalty, but it has a lot of nice cards. It plays with Pressure, so it's that version. Plenty of removal, so I think it's going to be nice. Of course, there's a lot of cards that are not good against control, especially the cut downs, go for throat. But after sideboard, I think it has maybe a better chance. And I was commenting with you before we started the stream that in Europe, Esper was not one of the most chosen decks. It was not top 3, but it ended up getting 2 copies into top 8, and the winner actually was playing Esper. So I'm excited to see what the deck can do.
All right, let's go down to the action. We have Luta Scooter on Blue Eye Control against Asha on Esper, and it looks like we're going to be watching from Luta's perspective. Nice opening hand here for Luta in game number 1. March of Otherworldly lies light, no more lies, 3 steps ahead, and Jace. I mean, this is just a chef's kiss.
Yeah, you have everything you want. You have removal, you have counter magic, and you have a planeswalker. And this one can actually win games, which is great.
Yeah, sometimes you see these control decks, they play Planeswalker, it soaks up, it gets some value, soaks up some damage, but this Jace gets very, very scary when you start getting into that late game, and people can get milled out kind of out of nowhere sometimes with this Jace.
The mana base was a bit awkward for Luther, though, with that second mana enter tapped. And Asha here might have a chance to start applying pressure, but no Rafine. It's going to be more difficult this way.
The Fairy Mastermind is in the air for Asher, starting to take some damage from Luther's life. So there's the Rafine.
And that card cannot resolve. It is just so strong in this deck. Uh, and again, I love this 3 steps ahead. It's such a strong card that even I think Lure Scooter here choosing to save it for later because of the spree abilities.
Right, it's pretty interesting here because Luther doesn't have the fourth land just yet. Wants it to be mana efficient, which I think makes a lot of sense if you're in her seat, but ultimately no more lies. That's there's a clock on that card, right? Later on it's just not gonna be as good. So I can definitely see why Luther wanted to maybe spend that 3 steps ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree. And now a very difficult decision because only 3 mana, and Luther Scooter knows I'm down on mana. As a control player, that's not great. I need to start doing something. And here, lowering the defenses with that Jace Plus.
Jace is going to lock down the Fairy Mastermind in terms of power toughness. Oh, and there's the second Rafine. That is not what Luther wanted to see.
Definitely not, because this card is really strong. Looter does run depopulate in the deck, so eventually that might show up. Sunfall would be great, but once again, the mana situation is not ideal.
You see Luther targeting Rafine. Oh, and look at this play! Targeting Rafine to get that war trigger so that she can flash out to Shanna's Tidebinder, counter the war trigger, and lock down the Rafine. Filipa, that was crazy.
That is very heads up play. I didn't see that coming. I was really not judging, but I was like, what is happening? Why is that plus on Rafine? It doesn't make sense. Oh, I see. Very heads up play here from Luda Scooter.
Yeah, really nice. And the Jace ability got to resolve. So Rafine is, locked down at least temporarily, even though Tidebinder got taken out by that go for the throat.
And look at this aggression. Asha here just thinking about going face.
Yeah, trying not to care about the Jace's hole. Drawing some cards, conniving away with the Rafine. Asha playing this beautiful Contorius sleeves, by the way. The
Yeah.
coolest sleeves, I think.
And they also have 2 mana open, so that can represent no more lies.
Yeah, they do have 3 copies in the main, so like you say, Luther's got to be a little bit careful. Found the 4th land. That's the beginning, right?
It is the beginning, but I feel like Luther really needs to find a board wipe or a way to deal with these 2 creatures. There's the March in hand, though, so that can help. But once again, if Asha keeps mana open, it's going to be really difficult to play around those no more lies.
Yeah, the Fairy Mastermind kind of just sitting there being a threat, not really able to be activated. But here's an opening for Luther.
Yeah, so the removal is going to happen now. Only 1 mana to get rid of that 2/2.
Okay, and then are we gonna see the other March target one of these other creatures? Wow. Actually going to pitch the No More Lies so that she can have the mana to march targeting their fiend and pay for the ward. The Asher just kind of went shields down for one split second, and Lusa took advantage there the best way she could.
Yeah, I really like the way that Luther is playing this match overall. We saw that Ed's up play first with the Tishana's Tidebinder, and now here taking the chance as long as Asha tapped out. And it looks like Asha just being aggressive nonstop.
I love this line from Asher. They are recognizing, in the long term, once Lusa gets all that mana and when she can start, using memory deluges, finding the board wipes, that's really going to be a problem for Asher. So they're saying right now, I'm the beatdown, and Lusa's down to 5, Filipa.
Yeah, and here Asha did an amazing job at applying pressure, deciding, and I think, well, not to go for Jace early on, which could have been tempting, and now really paying off because now it's leaving Luther in a very awkward spot.
Right. Lusa has the Tidebinder in hand. That can at least help her against the land, right?
But there's Field of Ruins, so I'm not sure if Asha is going to go out to activate the land because of that.
Ah, right.
Otherwise, yes, that would be great.
Right. And this is awkward as well because the Tidebinder doesn't even really block the Fairy Mastermind. And Lusa has to go down all the way to 3.
Is there no more lies? I mean, I think there is no more lies. The question is if they want to deploy it, but it looks like they do.
Yeah, I think you have to there. Still has 2 more mana up. Can represent another No More Lies. The Field of Ruin is keeping down the anchorage, but the Fairy Mastermind is kind of scary here.
It is very scary, especially with that map that can potentially make it enough.
Right. There's a map token, and all Luta has really is the Tidebinder.
Now, the Tidebinder can counter the map ability, but
Right, but then it's just so tough, right? Because it can't actually get the Fairy Mastermind off on the ground as
no.
things stand.
The only way that could happen is that if Luther had a way to draw extra cards and still play Tishana Tidebinder in the same turn, but that's pretty impossible. Okay,
Oh,
so a land.
Lusa says I just have to risk it here, and I love that.
Yeah, I also like it, and 1 is not 0, so
Famously so.
and yeah,
Okay.
Luther going down to 1. That's that's crazy. And Field of Ruin doing such a great job at not letting those encourage attacking.
Yeah, just looking it
Ooh.
down. Oh, and another one. Oh, and Wandering Emperor.
Yeah, I really like Wandering Emperor, but I have to believe with 4 cards in hand and so much mana available, there must
Right.
be something on the other
Well,
side.
yeah, it just seems so tough. Jace taking up doesn't even matter anymore.
I never saw Jace go so high, I must admit. I didn't know it was possible.
Yeah, usually you kind of see maybe it goes up a couple of times, but he really wants to start milling. And
Yeah, 9 loyalty. I mean, how many cards is that at this point? 9 times 3, 27? That's a lot of
yeah,
cards.
that's a lot of cards. And Ash has drawn quite a few cards as well, right? From all those connive triggers.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we cannot see the size of the library, but that would be interesting to know.
Tidebinder flashed out. What does that mean?
Just more aggression.
Oh, this is Ensip. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that okay, that adds another attacker. Anchorage can still be activated.
Wandering Emperor is still enough. Can Looter Scooter activate the Field of Ruin and still cast the Wandering Emperor? I actually think
Yes.
so.
Yeah. She definitely can.
Now, is there any no more
But
lies?
is it enough though? The Wandering Emperor has to come down and minus on Tishana's Tidebinder, I guess.
Yeah, and then Looter Scooter goes back to 1 again.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's all kind of up to Asha's hand. If there's a second copy of No More Lies, that this game is done. But if not, then we'll see. This is the only chance here for Lucy to kind of steal this game away. And there it is. No more lies for Asha. That is going to be them taking down game number 1 with Esper mid-range against Azorius control. Now, Lusa was kind of short a little bit on lands there in that game, but still, I think very well played there by Asha.
Yeah, I think both players played really well. Now the sideboard is going to be interesting. I see the Chrome Oast Seed Shark immediately entering post sideboard. That's such a good card. And it's going to be interesting to see if anything else enters the battlefield because I feel like both decks have a lot of options in the sideboard for against aggro decks or Temur Analyst, but that's not the case here. So a lot of Rest in Peace, Elesh Norn, those are mainly against Temur Analyst. Knockout Blowout, that's against aggressive decks.
Yeah, you know, this honestly seems like the place where Boombringer Valkyrie is going to shine.
I'm excited to see if we're going to see it here post sideboard into play or not.
Oh, another slightly light on lands hand, but this one has Deduce in it. So that's pretty sweet there for Lisa. I love Deduce, by the way, Filipa.
I like it as well. In the beginning, I was like, why are people playing this draft card in standard? I do not understand, but I do understand now. It is very good.
It's very sweet. I mean, if you think about like, Glimmer of Genius or the classic kind of 4-mana draw 2, this is like that, but you get to do it over 2 turns.
It's very good. Also, another thing is that Looter has 2 Seed Sharks in hand, which is very interesting. I've seen some games where Seed Shark just goes aggro and suddenly the Azorius control deck is not control anymore.
Now Asha gets off here with Deep Cabin Bat on turn number 2, which is a very sweet play against control. Let's see what they take here, because I think this is going to give us some clues, Filipa, as to what they have going on.
Oh, Destroy Evil. So there's...
What does that tell you?
I think it tells me Rafine, right?
Hmm.
Destroy Evil is power and or toughness, right?
I think it's just power.
With
Oh no, it's
toughness,
toughness.
it's
Sorry.
toughness.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
it's just
it
toughness.
might be
Yeah.
Rafine.
Or it might be Preacher of the Schism.
That's another option, yeah. So now making more sense, that decision there.
Yeah, for sure. Lisa has a couple copies of March now. Are you tempted to crack the clue here to draw a card?
It's a difficult decision because if you do get a land, maybe then you can march the bat, get Destroy Evil back. But then if you don't get the land, it's a bit awkward. I mean, you can still use the march on the bat, but that Preacher is going to start drawing cards.
Right. It does look like it's gonna be March, pitch March, target the Preacher.
That does create a 4/4 incubation, though.
Oh, I guess it just hadn't registered with me that that was how March would interact with Sea Shark. Of course, as soon as I see it, I'm like, yeah, of course, that's what would happen. But and
Oh,
still no fourth land for Luta. Where are these lands?
it must feel bad because it's the second game in a row that this is happening. If it was just one game without lands, it's one thing, but two, it has to feel bad.
Yeah, for sure. And now Asher does get to come in with the Preacher. At least Luta has the 4/4 incubate token, so can hope to trade with this Preacher.
Oh, and
Oh
Tide
my
Binder countering
goodness.
the.
Ouch.
Okay, there's a
Oh, and there's a
land.
tapped land for Luta. I have to say, I mean, like, we've all been there, right? Everyone's been in this place where you're just thinking, okay, I just need one more land. And then everything will be fine. I'll unlock everything, but that land just happens to be tapped, and you're kind of just sat there watching your opponent draw more and more cards from Preacher.
Yeah, and things get a bit tricky when you don't have the land because then you cannot threaten things like the Wandering Emperor. You can try to cast a Sunfall, but you know that your opponent might have No More Lies in response to that. Although Asha is not getting lands either.
No, you're right. Asha is also stuck on 3, has a bat, so I think Lusa may be really hoping that this Sunfall was going to save her next turn. That's being taken away by the bat. But can she hold on just a little bit longer, find either another sweeper or some way of getting that bat off the battlefield and kind of turning this game around?
There's the land drop though
But
for
that is not
Asha.
right, but that is not a blue land.
Nope.
Fifth land follows no sweeper. Does have 2 copies of Wandering Emperor.
And that's the thing. Wandering Emperor, this is the chance that it enters the battlefield. As you said, no blue mana to counter. And Lura is thinking, okay, should I do that? Should I Shark, keep a deduce up
Right.
for the
I think it's
incubation
gotta be
token?
tempting, right? Because you're gonna make another 4/4 as well.
Yeah, I agree. And if Looter managers manage to survive, if she managed to get a board wipe that is encountered, then things are looking really good with all those incubations.
Right.
And I mean, she's still at 18 live, so
Yeah, this game, even though it seems like it's been pretty awkward, hasn't actually been that bad for Luta until now. Let's see what Asher can do here. If they find a 5th land, then you know that their 6 cards in hand certainly are going to be pretty devastating. But for now, we're going to see the attacks come in.
and there's a lot of cards left in Ash's hand.
Yeah, a lot. Do they have a 5th land? Oh my! The 3rd bat. That's
Whoa.
crazy. I mean, yeah, Ash has been stuck on lands, but all their spells cost 2.
Yeah, the bat is so good. And at this point, imagine a board wipe, getting all your cards back from the three bats, but there's no board wipe. And I have just a feeling that even if there was a board wipe, there's a no more lies waiting for it.
Right. I think Lisa must be aware of that possibility. There is now a 4/4 that she can flip. There is. She's thinking, can I get this Wandering Emperor out? But if there's a normalize, it's so bad. Right? Like, it's so bad.
Exactly. I mean, maybe if Asha plays something like Fairy Mastermind end of turn, that leaves a window open, but I think they won't do that.
Yeah, they
Especially
said,
having the information.
right. And they said in their slide that counterspells really were the key to this matchup. So, you know, I think they said they made the finals of their RC with it. So, I mean, that's extremely impressive stuff, and they're gonna know exactly how to play this matchup kind of inside out. There's 6th land as well.
Ooh, going with everything.
Yeah, pretty interesting to go with everything. Oh no, remembered about that 4/4.
But I mean, just 3.5 more attacks, and this is enough. And it's just such a difficult position when you are behind on mana.
What about March now in the end step for Luton?
March is actually very interesting. The only issue might be if Asha has multiple counter spells, but I guess at this point, a looter cannot play around that. So,
Right. Well, here's the first test. Do you have a copy of No More Lies for this? No post board. Oh, okay. Asha, let's go.
yeah, and I think Asha here thinking, okay, if you try to Sunfall, I'll counter the Sunfall because that will uh, just get your all turn.
Right. Asha has 3 more copies of No More Lies in the main, plus 2 Disdainful Stroke out of the side and 2 Negate out the side. So potentially 7 counters post board for Asha.
Whoa. Yeah. And this double fairy mastermind.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So here's the gap. But
Yeah, but the thing is that
it's lethal, right? I mean,
you can
6.
Wandering Emperor, one of the bats, gain life, create, activate one of the incubations to block Tishana.
Okay.
But that's still quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, I think she has to. It's gonna be at least 7 in the air, right? It's gonna be minus on the bat. Luta goes to 12. 7 in the air. Luta goes to 5. And if there's a Rafine,
Oh
it's
yeah,
probably
Rafine would
game
be huge
over.
here.
Yeah. Looks like no Rafine, so that's gotta be a bit of a relief there for Luta.
And I mean, at this point, Asha just has access to so much information. Asha knows Looter as Sunfall and Seed Shark.
Mm.
So
Okay,
one card left.
Oh, and that's not a land. If there wasn't, oh no, I guess Luther would have needed 2 lands in order to
And I think Looter here is going for the
the
Sunfall,
attack.
saying, do you have it?
Do you have it, Asha? What is that last card in hand? Oh, it's a negate, and that is gonna do it. Luther says, ultimately can't play around that any longer, and we're going to see Asher with Esper control taking down this Division 1 match, and Asher is going to be advancing to 4-0 in the division. Wow, that is some really, really tight play there by Asher. I loved how patient they were, how cagey they were with all those flash effects, and ultimately, a well-deserved victory, I think, there for Asher.
I agree. It was well played by both players. I mean, Lure Scooter didn't get enough lands both games, or at least not fast enough, which in this specific matchup is really rough. But Asha really took advantage of that and they optimized. They saw I'm the one with mana advantage. I'm going to take the most out of it, and they did. So good games. I guess they deserve to be 4-0 with this gameplay for sure.
For sure. And if you think about that last game, right, multiple turns Asher passed, with mana up, and then really it was only in the last turn or two where they flashed out kind of 2 or 3 copies of Fairy Mastermind. They must have been holding those for a long time, right? Just saying, I'm never going to tap out. I'm going to sit there, wait. I don't care about the kind of ping damage in the air, and great stuff there from our players. I know you and I are both kind of fans of these, let's say, uses the stack a lot matchups. So it was a nice treat for us. And for our friends out there in the audience, if you enjoyed that, let's have a look at our next matchup, because this one is really, really sweet. And we are moving maybe away a little bit from the top of the metagame kind of decks to more of a brew in the form of Sultai Control with Fell. And this is a bit of a control deck, has 3 steps ahead, has the Tidebinders, that playing Sultai for Pillage the Bog, 4 copies, and 3 copies of Spelunking. Tell us about this, Filipa.
Well, first of all, I love to see a deck that plays Assassin's Trophy. I just gotta say that. I feel like it's so insulting that this card is legal in standard and sees zero play, because once upon a time this was so good in standard. But other than that, I really like this deck list. First of all, I like the creativity of it. Second of all, I'm a big Jace fan, and there's 2 Jaces. And third of all, I think it plays with the best board wipe possible. Deadly Cover Up, just a great board wipe, great cards, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, for sure. The 2 different Jaces, Jace Reawakened and Jace the Perfected Mind, both hanging out in this deck, along with, as you say, Deadly Cover Up, very cool. Path of Peril as well, doing a little bit of kind of early board control for Fell. I'm excited to see how this goes for her from Division 3. So let's have a look at who she's playing against and what they brought this week. It is NotCicero, and they have brought 4 Color Legends, the Slogurk deck.
Yeah, this deck is so impressive. I saw it play a lot in the regional championship, and let me tell you, it is not an easy deck to play. I would go ahead and say that this is the most difficult deck to play in standard. It is just, it has so many difficult decisions, but for people that know how to play this deck, it is so strong.
It's so strong. I just I will never forget like Nicole Tiffle on camera at the Pro Tour playing this deck, because she was played so well. Like, she honestly, I was just so impressed by her. She played so well, but also just in that final winning in where she was just drawing like 4 copies of Slogurk and couldn't cast any of them. It was just heartbreaking. Anyway, point is, this deck, as you say, very, very difficult to pilot very well, and props to the players who can do it. Let's go down to the action and see how it goes here. Both players at 1 and 2 in division number 3, but that is early days here in the VML. Plenty of players have made the playoffs at 5 and 4, 4 and 3, those types of records, and both of these players still very much in contention. Fell here on the lower half of your screen, and she has kept a pretty interactive hand. 2 copies of Phantom Interference and 3 steps ahead. But Phantom Interference, the kind of new quench, shall we say, or quench plus.
Yeah, this card is very interesting. I mean, it is played in draft sometimes. I haven't seen it played in standard, but I'm excited to see it. I feel like potentially it is better than Make Disappear.
I could definitely see it being better than Make Disappear. We're going to see it in action right now. Inti, Seneschal of the Sun, that is getting counted. You cannot let Inti stick.
You cannot. The issue against the four-colored legend deck is that usually they do have a lot of graveyard recursion. So yeah, I feel like Fel will be able to in the early game counter a lot of spells, but then she really needs something to close out that game before Honest Rustine starts coming back cards from the graveyard. You know what? That will
Hello?
work.
Pit of Offerings? I mean, this is the cool thing about these brews, right? You just never know what's going to happen. 2 copies of Pit of Offerings, going to do some early Bajuka Bog kind of action here, coming down, taking out those graveyard cards that you were just talking about, and NotCicero gets to resolve a Relic of Legends this time, but no Rona, no Legends just yet to go with it.
Yeah, and I really quickly had to shut up about what I was saying because that card was so good, exiling that from the graveyard. Also, another card that Fel plays is the Restless uh, Cottage. So we'll also be able to eventually exile cards from the graveyard if needed. And also, we'll be able to switch for a more aggressive gameplay. Now, we might see not only counter but also draw 2 cards, discard 1, which is one of the reasons why the 3 steps ahead is so good. Not only it counters, but it gives you a very good benefit.
Yeah, I love this card. I mean, Sublime Epiphany is my favorite card. I love the cryptic command type effects, and love to see the modular stuff going on with 3 steps ahead. Honest Rustine is going to come down and get Slogurk back from the graveyard though, so that's pretty nice there for NotCicero.
Yeah, that's definitely nice, and it's going to put Fel in a very awkward spot. There's Tishana's Tidebinder, but yeah, things very discounted now also with that Honest Rustine.
Yeah, it's tough to Tidebind a Slogurk because there's just so many things that the Slogurk players can do at instant speed, right? With the channel land and taking the counters off, and once they have a Slogurk down, and as you say, the discounts start going, like it can be tough to deal with them.
Yeah, it's very difficult to deal with, and we saw Fel kind of dominating the early game, but now things are going to be getting very tricky. Although she can still counter that Slogurk,
Mm.
but that pace 2 is going to start being very bad against his deck, as I'm sure NotCicero will start keeping some mana up to pay for those 2.
Well, for sure. Memory Deluge though for Fel, and that's gonna do some nice card selecting refill for her. And honestly, as a control player, like when you find that memory deluge, just at least for me, when I find the memory deluge, I'm like, oh, I can just breathe again. you know?
Is Deluge rotating or not?
I believe yes, it is rotating.
That's a big loss for the control decks.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. It was in Midnight Hunt, right? So it has been a while.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a fair card while being strong as well, which is not
Right.
easy to make.
Yeah, I agree. I think the design, they just really hit it at the right level. For sure. Yeah, I'm looking at this Restless Cottage thinking that's actually quite a good game plan here for Bell.
Yeah, that's definitely a good game plan. Also, I really want to see a win with the Jace. Not this one, but the other Jace. I don't know why I love a good Jace win.
There's a lot to unpack there. For sure. I've kind of
Just like
always thought it would be fun to have like an MTG therapist, like you know, you have like your client come in and they'll be like, "Oh, I just really like milling people out. Like, what's wrong with me?"
It is fun though. Come on. It's not fun to be milled, but it's fun to mill.
I will agree with that. I will definitely agree
It's
with
like
that.
one of those things. It's so much fun when you have counter magic, but it's so not fun when your opponent has blue mana up.
I actually don't mind because I play a lot of counter spells, and so if I get got by a counter spell, I'm like, you know what? That's fair. I would rather lose to a counter spell than to, 2 drops.
That's very mature of you. I couldn't say the same. Every time that my opponents win with counterspell, I'm just thinking they always have the counterspell. Always.
They always happen. Yeah, but this is probably why you do well in tournaments and I don't. I'm just like too chill about it.
I feel like you don't give yourself enough credit. You're a very good Magic player. You're definitely better at control than I am, let me tell you. I couldn't, because the patience that it requires, I do not have.
That's it. It is a very specific skill set. As we see Urtai Resurrected come down, this has been a very fun stack. Urtai's going to be countering Tashana. Tashana was trying to stifle Rona. Rona then got to untap and all this stuff. And this is kind of what we were talking about, right? Like when they have mana up, it's so difficult to kind of get one up on the Slogurk deck, even if you're the control player.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I feel like Fel needs to draw a deadly cover up at this point. But even if she does, then that Slogurk is going to return lands back from the graveyard. And yeah, I feel like this
it's
deck
tough.
never dies to removal.
Yeah, it's tough for it to die to removal, and the creatures are actually going to start coming in at Jace, maybe.
I never saw that Jace ultimate, to be honest.
I think I've seen it one time in Limited, but it's certainly not very common. Oh, look at this. Takanuma being channeled using only 3 lands because one of those lands was the very cool Sunken Citadel, which you can add 2 mana.
Oh, double Jace.
To
Okay,
main
now I
lands.
want to know how many cards there are. There's still 44, so
44?
even 2 Jaces are not enough, unfortunately. But a third Jace, that that bot can find things.
It's true. Or I think a Takanuma could get it back as well, right?
Yeah, or a Takanuma.
Okay. Okay, this bog. Is this bog looking at 20 cards? Am I going crazy here?
No, 10 lands. That means double the cards.
I'm like shocked. I'm aghast. I just did not think about this card as anything other than a limited card, and for some reason, it just didn't occur to me that it could look at 20 cards. That's crazy.
Unfortunately,
That's a lot of
okay.
cards.
It did find one deadly cover up, which is the card that you want. And the best part about the deadly cover up is that you can collect evidence.
Right. And then you can try and get rid of all the copies of Slogurk, right? Oh, and it's going to work.
So you
I
might
was looking at
see.
them.
Yeah, I think we might see honest sustain. It does make sense because it does get back the Slogurks and the other cards. Taking a look at the deck list.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't really thought about getting the Honest Rusty instead of Slogurk, but it does make some sense, for sure. The Rusty just gives you so many options and that discount on the legendary spells as well.
I'm going to see a draw this card.
Hey, and Deadly Cover Up takes out a lot of cards from your opponent's library, so
That is true.
helps your Jace.
Yeah, and I think here Fel is deciding. Interesting. Just going for milling 8 cards. No, 6 cards.
Okay. So So now Cicero is going down to 33 cards in library. This is the life total that we care about. You know, but at least that
Yeah.
Fel is caring about.
That Inti cannot remove the Jace right now, or the Jaces.
Mm-hmm. Wow, this deck is sweet. I want to play this deck.
I
It's
don't
kind of,
blame you. It is a sweet deck.
yeah, I want to look at 20 cards.
I think you're discovering the bog for the first time.
I really
Uh,
am.
but I do not blame you because that card does not see play.
No, and it doesn't. It looks very innocuous, right? Like it's like, oh, okay, you know, they gave Golgari some kind of weird cantrip, cool.
So that's now
It's
a
basically
zero
a
tree.
tutor.
Yeah. It is very strong. It's a shame, and it only costs 2 mana, right? You can plot it, but you don't have to.
Right. Go for the throat, trying or threatening at least to take out Restless Cottage, and Fel says, okay, I'm just gonna Memory Deluge. Get a Jace. Perhaps.
A lot of
Deadly.
options.
Yeah, already has a Deadly Cover in hand, decides to get the second Deadly Cover up and the Bog, which is now only saying 18 cards thanks to Restless Cottage being killed.
Not as strong. It got nerfed.
Did get nerfed. Oh, and Shield with the Apocalypse comes down. Okay.
I mean, that's going to be difficult to deal with, but there's the Deadly cover up, so yeah, that needs to go immediately. Now, what is the card that you exile now? Because now you can choose. You can just start taking cards away from your opponent's deck.
Interesting. I think
It has to be Slogurk, right?
it's gotta be Slogurk. It could potentially be Goose Mother, if there's a Goose Mother.
Oh, that's smart.
Because I think you don't want your opponent to suddenly have a bunch of value, maybe.
30 cards left. I love the card count there.
Yeah,
I
it's nice of Fel to keep us informed, you know.
I really think we're going to see a meal by Jace's, and I love it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I felt kind of holding the second Jace, thinking like I think she's trying to surprise Cicero.
Ooh.
Okay. All right.
And this Jace Reawaken is really growing on me as well, doing a lot of work.
He's just gonna loot every turn, you know? And every so often it will copy all your spells. All your spells, Filipa. So you want to copy all your spells?
And look, this is looking at 22 cards now.
God. This card is so sweet. This is like the biggest discovery of the day for me.
Yeah, and there's another deadly cover. And these deadly cover-ups at this point, they can just be used as a one-off removal.
Right. I mean, Akazos, that's definitely something that you would want to kill, but actually, it's hard to get it with Deadly Cover Up, right?
Yeah. I'm
Does
just
that Jace just plot another Jace? Because that is the most Jace flavor win thing I've ever seen.
And I think I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but I think we're going to see a meal win, which makes me very happy.
Oh, of course, you can Tidebinder the trigger. Oh, you could just exile it straight away. Okay.
Deadly cover up is so good.
It is very sweet.
So I think next
Okay.
turn the Jaces are enough.
Right, because there's a Jace for 5, so that's 15. And
Yeah,
then
and
the
there's
second Jace for 5 as well, I think.
yeah, that's it. There were 30 cards left, so now there should be 29, I believe.
Okay.
So I think this is going to be it. Second Jace,
Yeah,
will you 50
paying
more? And what are you going to do with no cards? Nothing.
nothing. Wow. Fell with Sultai pillage the bug, getting the win in game one with Jace Perfected Mind, and Filipa, that's one of your bingo card.
Yeah, I really love this. It was definitely on my bingo card. It is so mean, but I love it. Also, look at this sideboard. Am I seeing a Bonnie Paul? Like, what
Yes,
is this
you
that?
are absolutely seeing a body pull. Clear Casa. Just the one copy. 2 copies of Graveyard Trespasser. Remember that guy? Um, 2 copies of Tashana's Tidebinder towards the end. 2 copies of Tranquil Throwback. 2 copies of Unlicensed Plus. Fel came ready for the Graveyard shenanigans.
And it's going to work pretty well against the Slogurk deck. I have to say, somebody is a chef and he was cooking very hard this week on the VML because this deck is something else.
I
Um,
love it.
I'm a fan, yeah. And again, we see cards here that we haven't seen play standard yet, and I love to see it. Even like sideboard cards like the End, we don't see it very frequently, but I feel like it's such a strong card that is uh, underplayed. Uh, Also, standard is such a huge format at this point, and there's so many strong cards that even cards that usually would see play in a normal standard format are not seeing play in this standard format, so it's nice to see these making an appearance.
Pick your poison? That kills the Relic of Legends. I mean, God, I love this deck. By the way, I love Pick Your Poison. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I was playing Vintage Cube the other day, and
Okay.
my opponent taps out for the One Ring, and I just said, "Pick your poison," and it was great. It was
Were
the
you
best thing.
playing modern?
No, in Vintage
Yeah,
Cube.
yeah. In Cube,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah, it was so much
But
fun.
if it feels like your typical modern
It
play with the
did.
pick
It
your
did.
poisons for the ring and the ley line. Very
Yeah, it was
nice.
perfect. It was great. This is a nice hand. No double blue for the Jace, but does have negate, has pillage the bug, although no green black for pillage either.
Yeah, and I mean the mana base for this deck can be tricky playing three colors, that can happen. Although I feel like this standard mana base is actually pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not bad for sure. I mean, we just have so many duels right now. With the slow lands and the fast lands.
And do you remember any standard format that was stronger than this one that we have right now in your Magic career?
No, I didn't think so. I mean, there were definitely more busted decks. You know, like I started playing standard around the time of like Etherworks Marvel and stuff like that. So there were definitely more busted things, but in terms of overall power level, it's certainly not. I think this is one of the most, if not the most. Well, I don't know. Shout out to Oko Thief of Crowns.
Oh yeah, that standard was, I still remember it was not fun.
Well, I had a lot of fun.
Oh no. Everything is an elk.
Everything is an elk. Inti coming in at Jace, just gonna be chipping away. And Relic of Legends comes down. I mean, NotCicero having like quite a lot of development here. Unlike the last game where Fel was just really able to counter almost everything that came down in the early game, but no Slogurk yet, no Honest Rutstein. So let's see how this one goes on. No double black for Fel or double blue. This mana is really awkward. At least this game.
Yeah, this game it is being quite awkward. There's the land that can make a treasure, I believe, but ooh.
The Seiju, the Relic. Wow, I would not be happy if Auto Tap had tapped my one island. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, Arena Auto Topper really revealing that there's no more negates.
Oh, but being able to get a surveil land off the Seiju, that's quite nice as well.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Ooh.
realize these 4-color decks were playing the surveil lands, but like, what a heads up get.
Yeah, I really like the deck. It is, again, I say this a lot, but I just feel like it's so difficult to play because I tried it and it's my brain just couldn't. It needs so much practice.
Right, it's very unintuitive, actually. Like, there was a lot of stuff on Twitter, like after the PT, I saw a lot of kind of pros talking about this deck and just saying the decisions you have to make are just so weird and so different compared to, you know, other decks that, yeah, being able to pilot it definitely very strong. And look at this, Fel. Gonna get that treasure, I guess.
Yeah, at a big cost, but the treasure is there. The Kanuma. And I
Yeah,
love these channel lands. They work so well in this deck. It's such actually it's such a shame in my opinion that this deck is kind of going to rotate out.
yeah. The channel lands are just so sweet. Like, just the way that they interact with Inti, especially, really nice.
And here, difficult decision. I mean, yeah, the end is very tempting here on the Inti.
Right. The Plaza of Heroes doesn't make mana for Takanuma. You get to look at the hand, get to get rid of the other Intis. Oh, that Urtai sticks around until the next turn as well, so
It can get rid of Jace. Which immediately does.
yeah. Been burned by that Jace before.
Yeah, I mean, and let's look at the top 10 cards.
Okay, alright. Thrillback, certainly tempting. Tidebinder, pretty decent if you know that there's a Rona in hand for the opponent.
Yeah, so a lot of interesting cards, and definitely not as easy as last game for Fel here. She's really having trouble. Deadly Cover Up would be a great pickup, I think. But just that Tekanuma knowing that at any point can return more creatures, and this is when this deck kind of escalates.
Right. Here's Jace.
Ooh, are we plotting another Jace?
I just love this play. I love the Jace plot Jace. It's just so
Yeah.
Jace.
It's the most Jace thing that you can do, as you said before.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's interesting. Countering the Tekanuma trigger is.
Hmm. God, and then Honest Rotstein. I think Fel really does care about getting this Rona though.
Rona, if you really know this deck, you know that Rona is what really is pushing it to be so consistent.
Hmm. She just does everything.
Yeah, she's amazing. And I feel like the window is really closing here for Fel. I mean, there's that Pot of Peril, but it's not even great in this board.
No, it can take care of Rona, but Urta's going to stick around. Honest Rotstein is going to stick around. Cicero is just going face now, saying, you know,
Yeah,
I have to kill you at some point.
Yeah, I think they are realizing that Fel is at 9 life at this point, and that Jace can plot away all the time, but if there's no deadly cover up, never mind.
Wow, what a statement.
Today I need to shut up because every time I say something, that it's going to
No,
happen.
this is perfect. Filipa, can you say what the lottery numbers are not gonna be?
You got it. I mean, this is great for Fel, though. I mean, she must be happy that deadly cover up was necessary at this point.
Yeah, and knows about the Urtai, so you can take that out of NotCicero's hand. So that really changed the whole nature of this game. But NotCicero has Honest Rutstein, has a bunch of stuff in the graveyard. You know, Fell still at 9. The Jace not really a threat. And
The thing is that this honest Rustine it just gets all the juice back. Like everything is again. Uh, oh, okay.
okay, look at 12 cards. Pretty casual, pretty chill.
I actually really like the end in this matchup, just because you are able to exile a card and get rid of the remaining cards. And I feel like this deck really works with the synergy of getting these cards over and over again. So yeah, I really
Right.
like the end here on Rona or even on Rustain. Both cards are good to end.
I like yeah, I definitely like getting rid of the Verna, but I definitely I know what you mean because you can get into these rusty loops, you know, where they're getting each other back, and it can be kind of tough.
The
As you
thing is
say, like
that
it's just so much recursion, just so much consistency.
yeah, the thing is that Cicero has one land in her in hand, and Fel knows it. So Fel may be thinking, okay, they need to get something. Because if they get a land that is not one of the channel lands, they kind of break, and that gives a chance. But once again, like this deck that Fel is playing also takes time to win.
Right, and like the Jace doesn't do anything, right? Like it just doesn't affect the board. Yeah, I mean he can copy a bunch of spells, but like what what spell like Fel needs to have the spells in order to copy a bunch. Oh, and
Oh,
his
that's a
Atlas
great
Hearts.
pickup.
Huge draw for NotCicero, and all of a sudden things have turned around. Look, they're gonna have lethal on their next turn step if Fel can't find something here. Spelunking can draw another card. Oh,
That's not
Body
enough.
Pole, that's not enough. But
Okay, let's
what
get
good can
another
the Jace
Jace.
do? Jace has got to go digging. Oh, that is not enough to play Body Pole, not a removal spell. And that's going to do it for game number 2. We're going to decide it between these two decks.
I have to say, I'm a real big fan of this Sultai shell that felt builded here. Uh, but this time, Jay's not being able to do Jay's thing. But I love the Bonnie Paul coming in from sideboard. We didn't see it here, but it would have been so strong. And again, like, let's take in consideration that this Sultai deck the ended creatures that they cover up, and it was not enough because Cicero just has all this synergy with Restain and the channel lands, and it's just so strong.
Yeah, for sure. Let's have a look now. Game number 3, the deciding game between these two players. We're going to have Fel with the play. Body Pole sadly going back into the deck.
No, because the
Like
way that I was actually really sad, I was like, no. I mean, yeah, it
no.
makes sense, but no.
Yeah, like reluctantly, yeah, it makes sense. But also, we really would like to see some bunny pull action here in the VML feature match area. But unlicensed Heist is joining the hand, Fel's going to pass back with Phantom Interference up.
Yeah, I love Earth for this matchup, I must say.
Oh, is that Cabin?
Yep. Cavern of Souls.
Wow. What a great land on turn number 2 for NotCicero. Just faded that entire turn for Fel.
And
Just
some people would fall for it and actually try to counter it. Arena does do a good job at putting the card like in red, so you know that it cannot be countered.
yeah, but it's definitely caught people out in paper. I know exactly what you mean. Let's see if there's gonna be. Oh, it's into. You can't counter that one either.
Cavern of Souls MVP.
I hate Cavern of Souls.
I love Cavern of Souls.
I just think it's so stupid. It's just, oh,
I think it's great. Like it just makes things fun. It's like, I know you have the counters, but guess what? You cannot play them, so have fun keeping your mana open to do nothing.
Wow, that's some toxic behavior from you, Filipa. I didn't realize you were quite this deadly.
Yeah, I got countered a lot in the past.
I see, I see, I see.
But look at the
Well,
synergy of this deck. Just
yeah.
discarding. That sounds like a play,
Here
but it's a
comes
play.
here comes Slogurk talking of plays. So we're gonna see Slogurk hit the battlefield for, you know, not the first time, but we don't really see Slogurk that much in the feature match area, which is weird because we feature Slogurk a lot. But there's this weird curse with VML feature matches and Slogurk where we don't ever really get to see Slogurk go off very much. But maybe we're gonna break the curse today, Filipa.
I mean, everything is set up for that to happen. There's a Rona, there's Inti, there's Slogurk. They're doing things, discarding cards, getting cards to be able to get with Inti. I mean, things are happening now. This Takanuma that is only going to cost one, so it can get channeled eventually.
Oh, but you can't play. You can't.
You cannot channel from, yeah.
Right. Oh, but you can play it, and then you can legend rule it, so it goes to the graveyard, and then you get it back from Slogurk. You can channel Paseju to kill the hearse. Although, actually, Fel, I think, maybe kind of happy about this, in a way.
Yeah, I think Fell really needing to get something. The end is good, but I don't know if it's enough. Again, I don't want to call it, but Deadly Cover Up would be great.
Well, we'll see. First of all, it's going to be get the second black source for the end. I mean, this is shields down, though, for NotCicero.
Yeah, I mean, we might have to see the end. Or maybe not.
Maybe it's going to be spelunking.
Yeah, it's a
There's just
difficult
too
decision
many
here.
options. Okay, I have to agree. The interface for those lands is really annoying. Oh, no
Ooh,
fifth land yet again for Fel.
that was not great. The good news is that the end costs less if you have 5 or less lives, so things are headed in that direction. So Fel might get a discount.
Okay. Verna is going to keep digging. But now, I mean, we're just going to see so. Now we're actually going to get to see Slogurk go off. Play the Takanuma from the NT last turn. Use that to channel a Takanuma. Now Slogurk has 3 counters, so whenever Cicero wants, they can return the Slogurk. The graveyard is absolutely stock full of channel lands.
Oh my god, this Gurk is big.
It's an 8/8 already.
Yeah,
Oh, that reminds me.
I
I need to
mean,
add the new Slogurk emote to the Twitch.
that's that's insane. It never gets old. And Relic, okay.
Okay, and then when it attacks, there's still gonna be another Inti trigger as well.
That's 10 damage. Actually, 11 damage.
Right, and it kind of came out of nowhere. Oh, Shieldred? Ouch.
Yeah, that
Wow.
S word and that RS.
Oh my goodness, duress. Think how think how much work that Cabin of Souls did this game.
Again, great card.
It really did come down to that Cabin for NotCicero. Getting the Inti and Verna down, as you say, those two cards really the powerhouse of this deck. Restless Reef, the fine, but with the end gone, just seems like it's not really going to be working out here for Fel, who managed to win the game one very convincingly against Slogurk, but ultimately, Four Color Legends seems like it's going to be too strong on this occasion,
I'm
and that's
still
going to do
happy
it.
that we got to saw this deck win once, especially with double Jace. That's always fun to get a Jace win there. But I have to say, great games. Both players did so well.
Yeah, for sure. I really liked, really loved to see the Sultai brew. Love players in the VML and their creativity. Um, so many great decks of standard have kind of had their genesis in the VML, and it really comes down to people daring, right? People just trying things and saying, uh, I'm not going to follow the crowd. I'm going to try my own thing, and we love to see that here on the VML.
And
All
I
right.
already know when I go against a four color legend player that I'm going to lose because I know if they're playing that deck, they are good with it, and I have no chance.
Yeah, it's so strong. It is so strong if you can get your reps in and kind of really understand the deck for sure. Let's have a look at our next feature match now, and it's going to be a sweet one. On the one hand, we have Dana Fischer. Dana Fischer, of course, very well known for, I believe, day two in GP when she was 7 years old. Oh my goodness. Love to see Dana in the tournament scene, and love to see Dana in her first VML season, because we managed to change the rules this season. First time that we've allowed 13 to 17-year-olds to play in the VML. Before we were 18 plus only, and Dana has been a beneficiary of that. Playing Golgari Midrange, a very solid deck, and Dana's 3-0 already at Division 2.
I have to say, this is my favorite deck in Standard. I really like it, and it has changed a lot in the past. First of all, I love the addition of Bronco. That card is actually very strong, and I love that finally it's getting some love here in Golgari. And also, some decks started to play Hostile Investigator instead of Shieldred. I see that Dana does a 2-2 split, 2 Shieldreds, 2 Hostile Investigator. And once again, that's a card we should not sleep on because it is very strong, and I love this list, and Dana is such a sweet girl, so I am really excited to see she playing her first match at the VML here in the coverage. I don't know if she got coverage before, if it's the first time, but
I
I'm
think
very
it's the
excited to
first
see it.
time. We've had her on the stream as a guest caster before, but suddenly it's the first time in the feature match area. And we can have a look at who she's going up against. And it is May in Kawaiit Riot, and May has brought Boros Convoke. And that's a scary deck.
That is a very scary deck. I mean, I said it before, but in the regional championships, Boros Convoke was one of the decks with the best conversion rate into day two, and I mean, it is very strong. Although I feel like Golgari has a lot of tools to do well against it, especially sideboard if Dana is running Pot of Peril, which I know now that she's running three. So I mean, I feel like Golgari might have a bit of advantage, but this Boros Convoke deck, I mean, if she has the turn one, do, for example, Novice Inspector Clue, then second turn do Glyphal Demolition on the token Knight, that's just
Mm-hmm.
going to be enough.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Let's go down to the action and see what happens here. Golgari midrange in the hands of Dana Fischer up against Boros Convoke in the hands of Kawaiit Riot. We are going to be watching Dana's perspective. And oh, that's a lot of cut downs. And Dana's going to snap that one off.
Yeah, that's cut down, cut down, cut down. I mean, I like this, and Bronco can carry.
Yeah, for sure. Meanwhile, Kawaii's got a good hand as well. Yoshin frontliner on turn number one. Gleeful Demolition ready as soon as she finds some red mana.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Then I hear just cut down immediately. And if, ooh, I love this top deck
Preacher?
from Dana. Yeah, Preacher is so good, especially against Convoke. I feel like you were able to start attacking, getting creatures to block, drawing. Drawing is also very important, but this Bronco is going to do some work.
For sure. I love this from Dana on the play, just saying, I'm going to develop out Like the 2/4 is going to be a great blocker. Isn't that concerned about getting in with the Bronco just yet. And here's the red mana now for Kawaiit, right? So could do some stuff here with the Ocean Frontliner and that Gleeful Demolition.
Yeah, we might see a knight here. Things are going to get tricky because this board is going to get white, and then we know about that recruiter that can enter next turn. So a game that was looking really good for Dana, suddenly it's not. And I'm actually thinking that Kawaii here as the advantage now.
Yeah, finding that red land was huge for her. Knight Errant of Eos comes down. It's going to be refilling the hand. Oh, with Novice Inspector and a second Imidane's Recruiter. So Dana has got off to a great start, but it's looking a little bit difficult.
And I think also the arena tapper did her a bit dirty
No!
here.
Oh, auto tapper, why?
I asked that question a lot.
Yeah, me
Look at
too.
these.
Oh my goodness. Just straight up play the recruiter. That is a huge amount of damage coming in. Dana
Now
has a cut down.
there's some good blockers that Dana is able to do, but it's not going to be quite enough to clean this board.
Okay, and Dana has the hope that there's some way to survive the next couple of turns. We know, of course, that there is another Imidane's Recruiter in hand, plus the Warden. But Dana doesn't know that here is that Warden.
And Recruiter is such a strong card in this deck.
Oh, it's just so it's just so aggressive. Just really gets in so quickly. His cut down can take care of the Warden. You trade with the Recruiter, but Dana's gonna go down to 3.
And there's
From
not a lot of
this.
cards, at least before sideboard, that can do much about it.
Yeah, Snorse isn't really gonna do it. Let's see whether I don't think there's a path in the main.
No, and this is going to be it. I mean, here Kawaii just needs to attack with everything, then blocks, and takes 2.
Wow, we were talking about this in the lead up to this match. I mean, this Boros Convoke deck, if it gets off to the start, especially with Gleeful Demolition, it is terrifying. But we're going to look at the sideboards now, and as you said, those 3 Paths of Peril, they are coming straight in.
Yeah, so the first game, I feel like Boros Convoke, especially on the play, as advantage, but post sideboard, despite of peril, they are just so strong. And Dana just removing those Duresses, Liliana, Investigator, they don't do much against this board. And yeah, I mean, I love Glissa, I love Shieldred. I think the cut downs can also be really good.
Yeah, for sure. And I like Dana just dropping the mana curve there, getting rid of those 4 drops that don't do very much. Shielded, of course, she can stay. But let's have a look at what Kawaiit is doing with her sideboard now.
Yeah, it
There's
looks
not
like
a lot
there's.
here, it looks like, for specifically this matchup.
I like Destroy Evil, although I feel like Dana does have a lot of 2 and 3 toughness, so maybe not ideal. It can just remove Shieldred, it can remove the Preacher, but that's it.
Right.
Ooh.
Maybe. Oh, Surge of Salvation coming in out of the side as well. It does prevent damage that black or red sources would deal and give you and permanent to control hexproof. Does not help with Path of Peril.
It does not. And then I hear add to Mul, but this end now is actually pretty strong.
Yeah, bunch of 2 drops plus Path of Peril, and you don't mind too much if you kill your own Dread Knights.
No, because they return, you can draw some cards out of them. It's actually a very strong card.
Yeah, for sure. This could
And
mean
we
Dread
might see a
Knights.
second one.
Why not? It makes sense.
Yeah, they're very strong. And I think Dana here really wants something like a Shieldred would be nice.
Right. Something for the post Path of Peril kind of landscape.
Exactly. Unfortunately, Path of Peril does not take care of these Knight Errant of Eos.
No, a knight's gonna be refilling the hand here for Kawaiit. Oh, and there's an Everyday's Recruiter,
Yeah, and how
as well
much do
as
you
the Warden.
commit?
That's a good question. You see, Kawaiit is actually not going to play out a 1-drop, holding up that Surge of Salvation instead.
I really like this. I feel like the key of playing this Boros Convoke deck well is to know how many threats to put in the board and how many to keep, exactly for the situations where there's a board wipe. And things are looking really awkward here for Dana. That part of Peril at this point makes the knight still stay alive. And at the same time, every turn that Dana does not deploy that part of Peril, it's getting time for Kawaiit to start doing more and more damage. And eventually,
For
you might see this
sure.
recruiter.
For sure. But actually, also, Dana's doing a good job of selling that she doesn't have it. Right? Like, she's saying, oh, yeah, I guess I'll play out this. I guess I'll play out this 2-drop. You know, I'll do some blocking. And, you know, as the person who's holding the sweeper, that is definitely something you want to be doing. And look at this great blocking there from Dana. Makes sure that the Path of
Yeah.
Peril is cleaning up after that.
I love that. You're right. I love this play from Dana. Just so showing how great of a player she is. But Kawhi also playing really well and keeping some threats behind. Although these two novice inspector are going to be easier to deal with than previous board that we saw.
Right. Dana's still at 10, which is not a lot, but isn't terrible. Oh, Path of Peril number 2 for Dana, but it's going to be the Dread Knight to start with. And no need to give away the information. And the inspector's bringing those clues with them as well.
Yeah, and I feel like Dana here really needs something to close this game. A Shieldred would be nice. Even a Geek's Command to return cards from the grave. Ooh, look at this
Oh,
recruiter. I
okay.
think I never see these two twos from the recruiter in Boros Convoke, but they're being really strong right now. Of
Throwback is
course.
quite nice here for Dana.
Yep. And we are going to have these.
There's the path. You know, she
That's
said
it.
on her slide, she said, if I could just stay alive, I should be fine.
Yeah, but that's the thing about the path of Peril. Like, it is so strong, but at the same time, I feel like this Boros Convoke deck always gets more and more threats. Although only one left, only that recruiter now.
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah, that's a good one because you can discard a card that you don't need to draw a new one.
That's quite a lot of damage as well. That's 2-2 with
There's
haste by itself, right?
yeah, and
And
there's
then the
still.
recruiter.
Ooh, are we going to see a surge here?
Okay. Oh, so that's 5-6 damage this turn?
Yeah, that's a lot, and that means that Dana needs to do something. Good thing for this fullback gaining life.
Right. Um
I think maybe Dana wants to be aggressive here, attack with the cottage, make a food.
but she needs one more mana in order to she needs one more mana in order to be able to do that and
Yeah, and the thing
play
is
the
that
Dread Knight.
so this is actually a bit awkward now because yeah, Dana has two options. She can eat the food or play the Dread Knight. The Dread Knight can block, but then we know about a Ganjo. The creatures do not have trample though, so she will
They
be able to
don't.
survive potentially.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some number of draws that kill her. Gleeful Demolition, not one of the draws that kill her. At least not this turn. She's gonna go to 6, take 4, go down to 2, and then next turn, I'm assuming we're gonna see this Frillback come down, gain a bunch of life. You can
Yeah,
choose
that
any
throwback
number,
really
right?
needs.
Oh, up
Yeah,
to
you can
3.
choose any number up to 3, yeah. So you can do one of each. But the gaining 4
But can
life
you
is
do
really good.
3? Can you do 4 life 3 times?
No, that would be good. For you pay 3 extra mana and you gain 12, that would be very good. But unfortunately, that's not possible.
Okay, so I guess it would make sense for her at least to pay twice. Once to gain life and once to kill one of these. Or at least attempt to kill one of these. Oh.
That will put Dana at 1, but
Oh.
then gaining life.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, Dana was so smart to check, by the way, because you could so easily get got by that. I would just so easily have been got by that. Okay.
And Myrex now. I mean, Kawaiit doing a great job at applying pressure, and now that Gleeful Demolition, another Gleeful
Oh my
Demolition.
goodness. 2 copies of Gleeful Demolition. Dana's seen 2 copies of the Paths of Peril that were from the sideboard. So it does seem like this turn Kawaiit is just gonna do some setup, right? You can do some demolishing. Only 1 red mana.
The thing is that since Dan is so low on life, at this point, Kawhi can try to go wide in the board. Like these Myrex can get activated every turn. Oh,
Right.
and Dana here being aggressive.
Well, she has to, right? She has to make those foods, I think.
Yeah, the gaining life is really important. But we know about that Ganjo.
Yeah.
So that's going to take care of the Restless.
Cottage. Is that a second one or is that one of the pain lands?
That's a pain land, so there's no second cottage for Dana here.
Okay.
Ooh, okay,
Okay, this is
so
the
case.
case.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be it, right? Because the case gets rid of 1 creature. If Dana blocks a 2/2, that's 3 damage. So it's not yet enough, but it's
Right,
approaching.
and Dana has 3 life in that food token as well.
Yeah, and this case is going to flip, which is so scary.
Oh yeah, that is terrifying. Okay, Throwback goes down. Dread Knight standing in the way of everything. Dread Knight against the world. Dana's gonna go to blocks.
And that thing, like, even if Dana gets a Path of Peril, then all that Kawai needs to do is activate their Mirex end of turn, and that would be enough because of the case giving +1/+0 to the creatures.
Right, but Dana's at 5.
Oh yeah, because of the food token.
Mm.
So this
But
Gleeful
yeah, I
Demolition, I
agree.
really like it here.
The case is terrifying. It's Path of Peril bust, and that is not a Path of Peril. Dana's gonna go digging one more draw. That is not a Path of Peril either, and she is gonna scoop it up. It is gonna be Kawaiit Riot with Boros Convoke taking the win in division number 2. And wow, I mean, that Convoke deck was absolutely terrifying. All of those Immerdates recruiters, jeez.
I like this deck a lot because it's one deck that when it works, just so strong. And here we even saw like this last game was not like Kawaiit had the crazy opening with the Convoke deck, but she just did such a great job at applying threats and at the same time always keeping some as well in the hand. And even after Dana pad off Peril, it was not enough. Just keep applying the pressure. It was very well played.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, I want to give a shout out to Dana as well. I think that the way that she played her deck was really sweet. You could tell she knew at all points what she had to do, like never attack when she didn't have to, never kind of uh, took her eye off the prize in terms of knowing what she needed and knowing how to place her out. So great stuff then for Dana. She's gonna be a 3-on-1 after this matchup. Still gonna be putting her in a great spot to get through to the elimination rounds here in season 12 of the VML. So we are looking forward to seeing how she does later on in the tournament. All right, that is it for our third feature match of the evening. Just one more to go, and we are going to have a look at who is up from division number 4. It is Anna. Annabelle is a long-time VML player. Has been playing, I think, maybe since season 1, and always enjoyed the aggro decks. And here with Bant Toxic. And by the way, Filipa, I can totally see why the aggro decks have been doing well the last couple of weekends, like you said.
Yeah, so as I said, the decks that did the best in terms of conversion rate in the regional championship Europe were Bant Toxic and Boros Convoke. And from what I gathered from the players that I talked to during the regional championship, Bant usually does really well, just doesn't want to go against Convoke. So that's the matchup that Bant Toxic wants to dodge the most.
Mm.
Other than that,
Okay.
Bant Toxic is pretty well positioned in this meta.
Yeah, it's a great deck, actually. Like, when Toxic first came around, when it was green white, it was really quite mopey, I thought. But the band version is fantastic. The fast lands great for it. And we'll see how it plays out in Anna's hands as she's gonna go up against Cliff, I believe. Cliff been in the feature match a couple of times throughout um, their participation in the VML. I think they were in the finals of the last season, I'm going to say, unless my memories serves me wrong. And they've got Gruul Aggro, which, as you said, Slick Shot Show Off, really one of the cards from OTJ that has had the most impact on constructive formats.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by this deck. Gruul Aggro is so strong. Sleek Shot, as you said, was such a great addition to these aggressive decks. And I think it's one of those situations against the Bent deck that it might perform really well because, once again, the flyer and all the triggers. So it's going to be a race, which I always love to see. And yeah, I'm excited to see how the Gruul Aggro deck does, especially this new version. We saw some doing well at the regional championship as well. But actually, what did better than Gruul was Mono Red.
Interesting. I'm excited to see some of these kind of fun of um, tricks come out of this deck. There's just one copy of Picnic Ruiner, one copy of Two-Headed Hunter, one copy of Audacity, one copy of Royal Treatment, one copy of Demonic Rockers. Like, I love this. Put them all in there. Let's see what happens. Let's go down to the action and find out. It's going to be Cliff up against Anna to of the great players of VML, and in this aggro matchup, both players with pretty nice hands there. We saw Cliff with Monetary Spear plus Questing Druid, I think, and some friends, and Anna gonna be sending that one back, keeping this 6 with Venerated Rock Priest, Scrolls High, Fading Hope, and March of Swelling.
Yeah, really interesting there, Mulligan from Anna, showing that they do have a lot of experience with this deck, because I feel like a lot of players would have kept that initial 7. So I really like to see, and I feel like Mulligan decision is so important.
Look at this, not even playing their 1-drop on 1, instead holding up Fading Hope
Yeah,
and
I love
March.
this.
Yeah, just never going shields down with it.
The thing about Skrelv's Hive that we see here is that actually against the Gruul, it's kind of awkward because by the time that the creatures have lifelink, you're already dead.
Hmm. But you do
And
kind of have to get it down though, right? Like
yeah,
it's
you have
hard to
no
not.
option. You have no option, but your creatures don't block. You start losing life. So, I mean, but you need to try to race. That's the thing.
All right. Well, Scroll Hive's gonna start on its journey, making
I really like the
8
Fading
life.
Hope, though.
Yeah, Fading Hope in hand, March of Swirling Mist in hand as well. Rot Priest down. Hey, with 2 copies of Rot Priest, we could see some shenanigans.
Yeah, we can see those poison counters multiplying very fast. And playing against this Bant Toxic deck is so tricky because your opponent does run counter magic, all these bouncing spells.
Right. And we talked about it being a race, but it's kind of a race in which one of the competitors is starting halfway up the track. You know?
Yeah,
One of
that's
these players
true.
only has to count to 10.
That's true. And we see already 2 down, 8 to go. And this
Okay.
is going to start multiplying with these rod priests going around.
Yeah, I mean, Rod Priest comes down. There's going to be Questing Druid here, it looks like in the end step with that adventure mode. Cliff going to be looking at a few more cards off the top.
Yeah, we might deploy the Spell Pierce now. It might be a chance to do it.
It's got to be tempting. But I wonder if Anna's holding that Spell Pierce thinking about something like March for a billion.
Yeah, it does make sense. Now, Cliff is going to start deploying a lot of threats that Kumano works so well. And the thing about that Spell Pierce is that even if you counter, you already have your opponent already has the prowess trigger.
Right.
So in this case, the Fading Hope and the March will play a very important role.
Okay, hang on. So with 2 Rot Priests, right? If Anna can get rid of all the blockers, X3, and target one of their own creatures. I'm just trying to figure out if there's some secret lethal here. Do you know what I mean with the triggers from March and the Veneration?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I'm also thinking, I don't think it's quite enough, but it's getting close.
Right, because she can go X1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potentially.
And we see there the Kumano. I mean,
The
Anna
hell?
down to 10 life.
Because you can target yourself. Because if you target 2 of your own creatures, that's already a lot of triggers. Right? And Anna doesn't need. I think this might be it. I think
Yeah,
Anna
I think this
only
is going
really
to be
needs to
it.
get rid of one of these attackers.
Yeah. So we're going to see
Yeah.
that March, as you said. And with Cliff tapped out.
Oh yeah, yeah. Target your own stuff 5 times. That's 8. Wait, that's just lethal. That's just lethal straight away.
Oh my god, this deck is so
What is
much
happening?
fun.
Look at this. Look at all
Oh
these
my god.
triggers. That's a lot of poison counters, and this is what
And,
Anna came to do, right? This
and
is the race.
you said something. You said, yeah, it's a race, but your opponent starts with 10 life. And that's true, right? I mean, that was
Wow.
sweet. March and 2 Rod Priests and a Dream. I love it.
And a
I
dream.
love it. Yes,
More
2 Rod
like
Priests.
and a meme.
Yeah. Whoa, I did not see that coming. That's a lot of poison damage.
That
It
was
is sweet
really
though. I
sweet.
love it.
That
I
was
love
really
it.
sweet. Yeah, that was really sweet. And as we look at the sideboard now, Shortbow Duelists are getting cut. The Hives, they're staying in at least for now. And I like this actually, cutting some of these conditional counter spells and just kind of going a little bit bigger. So putting some meat on the field, you know?
Yeah, I also really like this, and there's a lot of good cards against this Gruul deck. I don't know if we can see again a win on turn 3 or 4, but that would be fun.
I mean, it's almost like a combo deck at that point.
Yeah, it feels like that's the thing. It feels like an aggro deck that is also combo and also has counters, which is just great. And I feel like why it's so well positioned in the meta right now. It does well against a lot of different decks.
Right, it just attacks on so many different axes that, you know, even if your opponent deals with one of them, there's all these other ways that you can kind of get ahead or just win out of nowhere. And this Gruul deck kind of trying to do the same thing. Let's see what Cliff is doing here with the sideboarding Lithomantic Barrages coming in. We're going to see end the festivities. Oh, that's a sweet one. For
Yeah,
sure.
and the festivities is really good. The thing about the Gruul is that Gruul is so amazing, but it doesn't have. Usually, you try to have a couple, maybe 3 threats, and then just put a bunch of things in them. Put the monstrous rage. We also saw there the uh, tyrants. There's audacity as well. But then, if your opponent has 1 mana up, you always have to be thinking, oh, is there a march? Is there a fading hope?
Right. It's so difficult to play against.
And I mean, this first match has to have felt so bad here for our group player. Just out of nowhere, 8 poison counters.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go now back to the action here in game number 2. We saw Anna absolutely just win that one out of nowhere with double Rot Priest and March. And let's see whether Cliff can do a little bit better here on the play with Kimono faces Kakazan on turn number 1 and Slick Shot Show Off ready to go on turn 2, as well as a little bit of removal. And this is pretty scary. Like, I am scared looking at it.
Yeah, this is definitely scary. This time there is no Rod Priest, which is a key card, but still a lot of nice cards on Anna's side.
And we'll see how Slick Shot Show Off does, you know, with that flying that you were talking about.
Yeah, the thing is that there's a fading open hand here for Anna that can be used.
Yeah, Anna has
But
a
the
lot of
mana
removal
situation
actually.
is awkward as well. Like these decks play with the Painlands and also Trend Portal.
The mana in this deck has always just been terrible. Like, it's so bad. Like Mirax in a 3-color deck that has a lot of pips, it just
Ooh, there's another show off. And look at that.
wow.
Ooh.
That
You
changes a
know,
lot.
you know what Cliff would love? And end the festivities here.
Yeah, that would be great for Cliff. Has to settle for the Lithomantic Barrage for now. Taking out the Skrelv though, you're not too unhappy with that.
No, not at all. And here Anna can use that fading hope, but that will drain her 1 life, lose her 1 life, and then she still takes 5 damage.
Yeah, 5 damage coming in straight away. Seed Core is going to be a left on top. Another land that sometimes is a bit awkward for the mana if you're trying to cast kind of these non-creature spells. But Annex Sentry, that's a pretty solid 2-for-1, at least for now.
Ooh, a strangle. That's interesting.
Okay. All
So
right.
we, we might see a slick shots show off an ancestral anger here. That will make it into a 4 power, I believe.
Yeah, because there was already one Ancestral Anger in the graveyard.
And now,
And Cliff,
if Cliff really wants to be aggressive, they can use the strangle.
Right. Yeah. I love this. Send it. Anna is going to be blocking. She's still going to go down to 7 after that, but Strangle takes care of the sentry, frees the second slick shot, and all of a sudden, things are looking pretty scary for Anna.
Yeah, and again, all these lands, some of them are pain lands. There's mana, but there's only kind of mana to do one off spell at a time. I mean, maybe the absence can be good, but again, there's multiple threats.
Right. And absence, I mean, you also don't really want to give your opponent a card. Like,
Yeah, and this questing druid is also going to be really good here.
okay, here comes the attack in on Cliff. And yeah, you can see this Gruul deck, when it's on the play and has a bunch of these threats in action, it's very scary. I mean, in game 1, it was also very scary, right? It's just that Anna kind of had that combo kill. But this is really Anna just trying to hold back the tide here.
Yeah, and here Cliff is definitely on the driver's seat, leaving Anna
Right.
down to 5 potentially. Ooh, going with everything, Anna here.
Yeah, I like this. I think you do have to get rid of these slick shots permanently. Fading Hope, it only does so much against haste creatures.
Yeah, and here Cliff has interesting options. Yeah, I like the plotting of the slick shot here.
And they're actually just going to use the questing grid straight away. Oh, those are some nice finds.
And we know about the Witch Stalker Frenzy. Oh, okay. So a lot
Oh,
of good cards here.
that's got to be lethal, right?
Yeah, especially that Frenzy. That's going to be enough here. But
Yeah,
which is great because it means that we are going to have a game 3.
we love game 3s. These players, Bant Toxic. Let's see if there's any changes. Yeah, cut those scrolls. Brings the Serum Snares back in on the play. And
I really like the first game that Anna had here with this Band Toxic deck, and I think she wants something similar where she's able to have multiple Rot Priests with some effects on. This game, it just felt like without the Rod Priests, she cannot apply the pressure
right.
fast enough against this Gruul deck. And once again, it's a race.
For sure. And like you said, I mean, that the flying on the slick shots really was huge there for Cliff.
Yeah, and actually, these decks like Mono Red, Gruul gain so much with Slick Shot. The card is amazing. Uh, I'm really a big fan of Slick Shot. I think it's really powerful, and it's going to stay in standard for a long time because it just entered in OTJ.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to see what these Mono Red decks can do with Slick Shot in the future. On the other side, I think this Band Toxic deck is mostly going to rotate out.
Wait, what? Is Toxic rotating?
Brotherhood's End is not rotating yet.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't think
Look,
so. It feels very recent. Like, I feel like what's rotating is like Neo and the Innistrad sets.
oh yeah, that makes sense. So okay,
Right?
so
And
we still are going to have Toxic for a
like, I think
while.
we're gonna yeah, we're gonna have Toxic, I think, for sure. This
I
is
feel
a
like
nice
this.
hand though for Anna.
Yes, this kind is a deja vu from game 1. I mean, double Rot Priest, let's go, and already doing some poison damage.
But look at this. Cliff has 2 play with fires, 3 play with fires in hand. And that's going to be doing so much work here for him, just preventing kind of this combo kill. Although it's going to have to take quite a lot of poison just to be able to get rid of them.
Yeah, it's going to go to 4 poison, which it's tricky because then what do? Do you attack for 3? Or do you keep your creature to block
Hmm.
that 1/1?
Always be attacking, I guess.
I love that. Uh, this 4/4 is going to be difficult to deal with, though. Because this
Yeah,
time there's no frenzy on the other side.
no frenzy. There is audacity. This Mastery Swiftspear is going to get pretty big.
Yeah, and I
And
wonder if we're going to see an attack here or just saving it here for that royal treatment. The thing is that
it's tough.
it is tough because the moment that Cliff does an attack and saves that Swift Spear, then there's going to be Fading Hope.
Right, and the Contaminator is pretty annoying. Like, it has trample and it proliferates when it hits, as well as the toxic. So, you know, all of a sudden, Cliff could be looking at 7 or 8 poison. That is not where he wants to be.
Yeah, things are actually not looking too good for Cliff at 5 poison. Anna is still at 16 life, which is pretty healthy for this stage, and Cliff really running out of gas here.
Okay, it's going to be the pass back. Anna finds another crawling chorus, and not a huge threat, but is a threat, and that is, I don't really what she is looking for at this stage. Contaminator's going to get in.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how Cliff is going to play these.
It's so awkward. Like, I think it's basically impossible to stop the Swift Spear from dying, I think, at this point.
Yeah, so we're going to see the Fading Hope.
Oh,
And that is trample, right? So the
yes.
probably
But that is actually kind of
oh, that's X
insane
proof.
because of
Yeah.
the royal treatment. So if Anna had just passed priority, you know, that would have turned out very, very differently. But the single copy of royal treatment in the deck has turned this around, and now Cliff all of a sudden has a huge minus 3 Swiss Spear. It's got, I think, a monstrous token. It has audacity. Oh no, sorry, it has royal treatment, so it's a royal token.
Yeah, and
And
there's a fugitive code breaker as well.
oh, that's the refill the hand.
Yeah. So you can just disguise it.
And I think you should, right, at this point.
Yeah, I think that's what Cliff is considering here. I mean,
I wonder
it's
how
great to
many
refill.
instants and sorceries are in the graveyard.
Yeah, I feel like there should be at least a couple. We saw the play with fire.
Oh, there was like 3 play with fires.
Yeah, so ooh, there's 4.
Okay. All right, so
Spell Pierce is
apparently,
not the card.
oh, ouch. Wow, and it really goes back to that one interaction with the royal treatment, Anna losing her bloated contaminator in that exchange, and this is,
Yeah,
you know,
and the
this will
Royal Treater
stay
was it was the make it or breaker of this game for sure. I mean, Cliff played so well. The
so
priorities,
well.
everything to be able to because if that interaction went any other way, the game was always Anna's.
Yeah, absolutely. But I
And
mean, the seed core is doing some work, right? Anna getting to actually get in with that crawling chorus. So those are some nice draws from Codebreaker. Jesus.
yeah, and how much damage is this?
Okay, that's a great question. We're gonna see. It looks like 10.
And the spell pierce, we might see it here. Also
You
because
gotta
that way
use it,
Cliff cannot attack with so many things.
right? It's use it or lose it, really, with the spell pierce.
And I think we might see Cliff here attack with 1 or 2 creatures max, but not with all.
They're thinking about it. Oh,
I think
Because
also
they also
thinking,
have to try and figure out how to get lethal next turn, right?
yeah, I think that's the key is to see what makes it lethal next turn.
Honestly, we talk a lot about control mirrors. I love a control mirror, as you know, but watching the aggro mirrors is so sweet. Like the way that they have to think about like the maths to such a fine degree and all the different permutations and ways it can play out. Like it's very intense, just in a different way compared to the counterspell and counterspell stuff.
I agree, and especially like this Bant toxic, like we see Cliff and we think, oh, Cliff, okay, 15 life. No, you have 4 life. That's it, and you cannot gain life ever.
Right. Right. And there's
Wow,
stuff
this is aggressive.
that is so aggressive. Rot Priest the Find.
It is not enough. That seed core does not give additional poison counters. So that
It's definitely not lethal, but is it enough to keep Anna in the game? Because Anna
I
can
mean,
send with one, right? Can send with the might.
yeah,
Keep
Anna might
Chorus
think
back.
so, but it's not because we know about Sleek Shot and Frenzy. Although that Frenzy also
But
creates the toxic.
Frenzy, right? Frenzy makes a poison.
Yeah, but Cliff had
But
7 poison.
right,
And no cards in hand left. That 4-3 has trample. Sleek Shot cannot be blocked, so that will be. Yeah, I think that's going to
right.
be enough.
Yeah, Slick Shot's gonna be 3 in the air, and then the 4-3 is. Yeah, you're right. It is gonna be enough. It is gonna be enough. But still, what a game. What a match between these two aggro players. Ultimately, Cliff with Gruul aggro just winning out with the bigger creatures against these toxic mites in Anna's hands. But Bant Toxic, great deck. Love to see two aggro decks going at it like this, and congratulations to Cliff with the win there. Filipa, that was really sweet. That was a really sweet matchup.
I have to say, I love the first game because I don't play a lot of Bant Toxic, and I did not see that come. You were like, "Yeah, this is a lot of damage." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't think it's enough." Yes, it was.
It
Yes,
was
it
enough.
was.
It was
And I was
enough.
like,
For
"No, no,
sure.
like there's only 2 poison. How can they do 8 poison with 1 card? They can." So that's
They
how.
can.
So that was very interesting. I still feel like Bant Toxic is such a strong deck and actually very underrated. The only struggle is especially against Boros Convoke, but otherwise doing pretty well, especially against the control side of the meta. So I feel like this was a great choice by Anna.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. All right, that's going to do it for week number 4 from the VML season number 12. It's been fantastic having all of you here. My name's Haiyue. I'm being here with Filipa, who is absolutely wonderful. You can check out at FilipaMTG. And Filipa has a super cool stream as well that you should definitely check out. We have to say all of our thank yous to our wonderful producer Phoebe from behind the scenes, to Misha, who's our player liaison and production manager, as well as all of the staff at the VML, all the wonderful players, everyone in the community, everyone in the audience, and of course, our sponsors, Wizards of the Coast. Filipa, any last thoughts for the evening?
No, I'm just very excited, and especially like in the beginning, it was fun because you were thinking, is it week 4? And I always feel lost when it's mid-season, like right now. So I'm really excited that we are getting into that mid stage of the VML where anything can happen. And I just want to shout out all our players because I think they did amazing today.
Yeah, absolutely. They absolutely did. All right, my friends. We will be back here same time next Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, for coverage of week number 5. See you then. Don't go anywhere until then. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will catch you shortly.